Now, the one thing I love about Porsche, whether they're launching a utility vehicle, a sedan, or a sports car, they bring us to the racetrack. They back up their products with seat time out on the track. And we're here at Vancouver Island Motorsport Circuit to take out their new top dog. They also have this vehicle here. This is the new Panamera Sport Turismo. And if it was me, this is the one I would get. It's a shooting brake design, a hatchback, a wagon, whatever you want to call it. You take the new design of the Panamera and you add on that sleek looking back end, makes it a little bit more functional, and I think just drop dead gorgeous. Now, on top of that, the other vehicle we're going to get a chance to drive is the top vehicle in their line. It's the Panamera Turbo S E-Hybrid. What does that mean? They've taken their electrification, their hybrid system, and basically plugged it into their sedan. So you get the combination of electricity and a V8 turbocharged engine to combine together for the fastest hybrid available on the planet today. So let's have a look around this Sport Turismo, and then we get to take out the top dog on the track. The Sport Turismo has a stunning shape. From the B-pillar back is different from the regular sedan. The roof line is a little flatter and square. The curves and the shapes of this car really is stunning to see. The rear hatch is bigger, it's got a lower load-in height, making it very convenient. Plus the seats automatically fold down with electric switch in the back, making this a large vehicle with lots of utility. The back seat is just as roomy as the sedan, but this one has a trick. You can opt for a 2+1 configuration, meaning you can get 2 passengers in the back seat, and the middle seat is equipped with a seat belt to use on occasion. As a comparison, I have an Audi A7 as my personal car. I do find the A7's cargo area bigger and the back seat's a little bit bigger as well, but I'd take the trade-off to drive that. Okay, right out of the gate, I've said it before with the regular sedan, in this Sport Turismo, the interior is really second to none. The materials that Porsche uses on the interiors of their cars is absolutely first rate. The leather, the aluminum, all of the things that look like carbon and aluminum are the real deal. Of course they are. Now, this vehicle isn't without a few question marks. For example, they've gone to this full glass panel in the center of the car, where before it used to have switches all the way down, which were easy to use. You drive along, you push a button, you get your eyes back on the road. Just like your phone, it shows a lot of fingerprints and it has glare. I'm not entirely sold on this setup. I am on the screen though. That's a 12.3-inch screen. It's super high definition. You also have behind the steering wheel digital readouts on either side of the tach. The tach is still analog. Those other gauges on either side are configurable. Now, the one thing I'd love to see them switch around is when you put your hand on the shifter here, rest it, it looks like a volume knob, the rotary dial here. It's not the volume knob. That actually zooms in and out the navigation system. It should be the volume knob. Below it is actually the volume knob. That's the rotary dial up and down. I wish they would switch those around, because the volume knob you use all the time. You rest your hand there, you turn it up and down. Zooming in and out of the map is something you typically don't do. You kind of set it and forget it. So those two things I'd like to see them switch around. So we've had over a day here in Vancouver Island a chance on the way to the track to drive not only the Sport Turismo but the regular sedan, and it really is great to get back in this car. We had a chance to go to the launch in South Africa for the E-Hybrid, and that's really a big push on the part of Porsche to showcase their electrification, not just as a way to be greener, but a way to be quicker. And that's really what they're going to be using to go forward. We all know that electric motors give you a lot of torque, and they help compensate for a lot of the gasoline engine shortcomings at different RPM. And when you put them together, you really have a compelling package. 50 kilometers of electric range, which for most people would be most of their daily commute. And then you can ratchet things up quickly with this car. Now, it really could take a while to explain all the different settings, but basically the best way to describe it is you have full electric as soon as you start the car. Then you can go to a classic hybrid system. Then you can go to sport, which engages the gasoline engine, and Sport Plus, and they're all there together to give you the maximum output. So the Sport Turismo drives the same as the conventional sedan. There's no difference there. They all get all-wheel drive and an 8-speed PDK transmission, which is fantastic, especially with the electric versions, because it gives you the same driving dynamics and feel that you would get from the regular gasoline versions, but you have a full electric system. So it's a good combination of both. Plus you can hold gears manually to give you more dynamic driving situations. Now, as I mentioned, all-wheel drive is standard. On all but the base model, you get air suspension. The base model gets passive springs. You can get active rear steering. You get the torque vectoring system and a whole lot more. So when you add all of those pieces together, it really is a car that is well balanced. It feels so well made. It can be quiet and smooth and relaxed, or it can be edgy. Now, with every Porsche, there's got to be a bit of an oh wow factor, and with the Sport Turismo, you get an active rear spoiler that's integrated into the roofline, and it pops up just above the hatch at certain angles depending on your speed. And when it's up at its maximum position, over, I think it's 170 kilometers an hour, it adds an extra 50 kilos of downforce to the rear wheels. We're not going to get a chance to really utilize that here today, but if you lived in Germany on the Autobahn, that could be advantageous. Plus, it, as I mentioned, gives you a bit of that wow factor. Actually, the whole car gives you wow factor. So there's so many different powertrains that you can choose. The base engine has been replaced. It used to be the old VR6, which is a workhorse, but now replaced with a small displacement, a single turbo V6, and that produces 330 horsepower. That's derived, it's a shared development with Audi, and they use it in some of their cars. Then you go up to basically a bi-turbo version of the same engine, and that gives you 440 horsepower. Then you take that engine and you add electrification with the E-Hybrid, and then the power goes up to 462. So as you can see, there's a real ladder approach to these vehicles. Then you go to the turbo, that gets you 550 horsepower, and then the electric version of that turbo is the one that we're going to drive on the track. Okay, we're out on the circuit now in the Porsche Panamera Turbo S E-Hybrid, and this has got it all. This is the top car, as I mentioned. It's got 680 horsepower combined from the 550 horsepower V8 engine and the electric motor. Then you get 627 pound-feet of torque at play as well. All that power, of course, going to all four wheels. The car has rear steering. It's got torque vectoring. It can shift the power to any wheel. And you would think on a very complex, tight course like this one on Vancouver Island, a big car like this would really struggle. Our lead instructor is driving a 911 Turbo S, and we are, well, he's not driving as fast as he can, but it's amazing for such a big car that it can really hustle around this racetrack. It's quite nimble, the balance is good, the brakes, the ceramic brakes are standard on this car, really is something. Now, this is not available in the Sport Turismo, unfortunately. It's only available in the sedan, but I would suspect that we are going to have an opportunity to get this powertrain in that car maybe in a year or two. But this is showing from Porsche that their top car, their most powerful car, is their hybrid electrified car. And that speaks volumes to where we're headed in the future. So if this is it, this is something. I always love reading the price of Porsches. It's a bit heart-stopping, but I think for many, this will be worth the price just to get all of this style. The Panamera Sport Turismo in Canada, the base Panamera 4 is $110,000 basically with 330 horsepower. The 4E Sport Turismo is $118,000. If you want the Panamera 4S Sport Turismo, that's $125,000. And the Sport Turismo Turbo with 550 horsepower is $175,000. That's the price to look cool.